Good day, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us with another episode of Splints and Whiskey. My name is Liz Arts, and I am so excited to be here today with my dear friend, Stephen Davis. Stephen is awesome. He is an author of a best-selling book, well, soon to be best-selling book, I should say, right?
We
And
hope.
yeah, it will be, I think. And was referred to me by a friend in special ops. So I know you guys are gonna love this man. I certainly do. We've had a chance to talk and get to know each other. He's awesome. Um, Before I have Stephen introduce himself, I want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors are is Life Autonomous Care Consultants. Uh, they have a triad of LACC, Lifetime Care Consultants, is a company that sells gear, medical gear, trauma training gear, all the way up to immersive rooms and high fidelity mannequins for the Department of Defense, for first responders. Now, if you want to find the triad, and the best way to find us all is via www.thelizarts.com. That way you could find our 501c3, where we give to first responders and DoD people gear or training. You can find Splints and Whiskey, this awesome podcast. And then you can also find LACC, where we help you shop. We know your requirements and we know procurement better than anybody in the world. So, with that being said, thank you to them, LACC. Now, Stephen,
Yes.
hello. I want you to introduce yourself, give us your background, and then let's talk about what we came to be here together for.
You got it. So my name is Steve. I'm a retired Army Nurse Corps officer who is out of the military since 2008, 2009 timeframe. I work in emergency room nursing, which is my specialty field from the military. I remain in the same career field after service. I'm currently working as a nurse traveler and interim nurse manager, assistant clinical director for different organizations. At the moment, I am between two jobs. Right now, I came on with uh, Liz today in reference to talk about a book I just published on November 10th. And the book is called Keeping the Stethoscope Hanging Up the Uniform. As an ER
Yeah.
nurse, I tend to take care of patients of a myriad of different reasons. But the reason for the publication of the book is because of how many veterans who either attempted suicide or successfully committed suicide were coming into our ERs, and I wanted to share those stories.
Oh my gosh. I just the you're going to be on the podcast in like next Monday, not this upcoming, the next Monday, right?
Mhm.
Well, I just interviewed a guy for this upcoming Monday that is Brothers Keeper Veteran Foundation dot
Mhm.
org, and his name's Chris Cathers. And Chris had a pistol in his mouth at one point, and he decided to make a change, and then help others. And I know that we talk about that. And there's also active duty suicides,
Active duty suicides as well.
and no one ever talks about those. Like in your ER, do you see that too? Because no one ever really talks about that.
No, I don't necessarily see the active duty because I'm away from most of those active duty locations.
Yeah.
But one active duty suicide that comes to mind comes from a location where a unit was redeploying back over to Iraq, but one of the soldiers who was still in the medical board process was on the medical hold situation, and he had been on medical hold for a while, and all of a sudden his unit is redeploying and he is still there in the barracks as the unit is departing.
Yeah.
And once that unit departed, he felt his entire support network, his community, all of his friends and coworkers had left. He went out to his car with his friend's pistol because he didn't own one, and he shot himself.
Yeah.
2 days later, the MPs found him in the parking lot, right
How
outside of
long?
the barracks.
How long later?
2 days.
Oh, I thought you said 2 months. I was like, oh my
No, two
gosh.
days after his unit deployed, he was
Yeah.
found in the parking lot by they were patrolling the parking lot and found him in his car dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are stories I hear all the time. I mean, I'm in the field all the time,
Mhm.
and so I hear those stories. I'm so thankful that you are bringing attention to this epidemic. Um, you almost want to say pandemic at this point, right? I mean, it's bad.
It is
Tell me
bad.
about your book. I want to know that. I mean, that's why I really want to bring you on, and I know that you're humble, so you were hesitant because you didn't want to make this be a commercial for your book, but I don't care. I do. So I want to make sure that you highlight. Tell me about your book. Tell me about some of the stories that you've got going on.
Well, two of the stories that really stand out are the two stories that are listed in this book. I do have another book in the works that I'm still putting together, but taking care of a veteran who was disabled after his Humvee was blown up in Iraq. He had come into the ER a few times before for depression and just being sick. And
Yeah.
the time he was brought in by ambulance after shooting himself in the chest, we actually had a level 1 trauma response on his arrival. CPR was in progress, and we had to paralyze and intubate him. And then he had a very small caliber pistol wound in his lower left mid part of his chest. And we couldn't necessarily get any type of blood pressure on him with CPR, even though CPR tends to produce a good solid pulse. So we knew something else was wrong. Trauma team in the room actually intervened and did a crack the chest situation, which is a life-threatening attempt at rescue. And they were unsuccessful because the bullet had actually penetrated the heart, went through the right side and the left side of
Ooh.
the heart, and then the bullet encapsulated in the back wall of the ribs without leaving the body. So as they cut into the chest to get to the patient's heart, the heart had 2 holes in it and a tear. Thus, we could not save this person. That situation just rang out for me because as we're cleaning up after they declared time of death, the coroner initially decided he was going to do an autopsy, but then changed his mind. The
Why?
family, we don't know exactly why the coroner decided not to. However, because of his delay, the body was kept in the trauma room for a longer time period, not moved to the morgue. When the family came into the hospital, then the family was brought into the trauma room, which is much bigger than going to the morgue. And when they were talking with each other, saying goodbye to the body that was still there, one of the family members came over and screamed at me, said, "You're a veteran, you need to do something about this." And it really got on my nerves because we should have intervened on situations like this so much earlier. It should have
Yeah,
never even got to this stage. Um,
right.
but that's the first chapter in my book. I call it
But
Cracking the
who do
Chest.
you think is at fault then? Who's at
The
fault? Who's
it,
we?
it's multifactorial. It's not just one person being a nurse. It's not just the transition, the TAPS program getting out of the military. It's not just helping veterans with a resume. It's so multifactorial. It's frustrating because it
Yeah.
starts with the premise that when you are medically retired from the military, that's when all these factors should step into play.
I
But when all
know.
those factors don't line up, especially with the VA, when the VA awards disability for those medical retirement people, all of a sudden those people lose their military medical retirement pay. So, right at that first step, when a person's being medically retired from the military, all of a sudden we're taking away a resource that should be there. And I say we, as in this country, the
The human
government.
race. The human
Correct.
race. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm with you. Okay, now tell me the second story.
The second story was a different veteran who had been in Afghanistan multiple times. He was hit by a sniper once. And then, in addition to the sniper, he was also in a bad vehicle accident. He had arm and leg trauma, so his ability to work was limited. He came into the ER because his family member said, "You're sick, you need to go be seen." The patient was only complaining of an upset stomach. When the patient came into the ER, the family member was parking their car because they were coming in with the patient. So, as we were sitting there talking and we had finished our initial triage, the family member comes in and goes, "No, tell him why you're here." Well, the guy was drinking a bottle and a half of whiskey a day and taking a handful of medications day after day after day after day. And
God, like, and that is such a common story. Holy crap! But
mhm.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he had just lost hope in reference to getting back into a normal life. And because he wasn't able to get a job, because he wasn't able to stay employed and have a purpose in life, he got to a point where he took multiple handfuls of medications in the same day. When I was going through that bottle of Motrin that had all of his prescription drugs and non-prescription drugs in it, we had to use an application called a pill identifier. So this second story that's in this book talks about the process that we have to go to try and find out for this overdose what was in his body. And by that time, it's too late. So that patient also did not make
He
it.
expired.
He
Yeah.
did, even though we tried to save him. The dynamic about that episode was the family member was actually in the room with us as we began our rescue efforts, and CPR was started and intubating him. He also, once he went into his VFib and his agonal respirations, even though we intubated, we couldn't bring him back.
God, that is. I'm so sorry to hear that. Um, what are your goals for the book?
I hope to bring more attention to this epidemic of hopelessness for these medical retirees who are being kicked out of the military due to injuries sustained in combat operations. There's a chapter 61 is the official term used for all these people being medically retired. There's different categories in those medical retirements, and one of those is combat related medical retirement. It's a special rule under that 2004 legislation where concurrent receipt was granted for all military
I remember
retirees.
when it passed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was not granted for those who are injured in combat. Now, they claim, the government claims that CRSC and CRDP are trade-offs of that. However, when you take a medical retirement and then CRSC is only going to pay 50% of that, well, if you think about it, your retirement is only a percentage of your active duty pay, and then CRSC is only a percentage of that. So, for some of these soldiers getting out, if you're an E5 only making $2,800 a month, and then you get 50% of that as a medical retirement, and then
Right.
50% of that as your CRSC amount, and then they take away your medical retirement, that's only $600 to $800.
I know. Yeah, I've said to my guys, I'm like, okay, it's like I'm not your financial planner.
Mhm.
I'm your simulation sales girl, but I'm like a youth director for everybody. But I sit and I talk to them like, guys, be careful, man. Retirement's not easy. Like it's not. It doesn't. Uh, yeah, it doesn't give them what they think they're gonna get at all. Like you said, it's a third, right?
Yeah, and it's only a very small part. So if these individuals cannot get a decent job or a job that can provide that other aspect of enough money to survive on a month-to-month basis, these are the individuals who fall into those realms where they end up homeless. A lot of times it is right at that moment in time where they're unemployed, they are feeling helpless in reference to being able to do things for themselves. They're at an approach of hopelessness because they're about to lose their residence or their support network, and it's at that time frame when most of these suicides are brought into us.
Well,
For
Steve,
the
let me ask you a question about homelessness.
Mhm.
Um, I do a lot of ministry. Um,
Okay,
so, and because of where I live in I live in Virginia. Well, I'm from Virginia Beach. I live in Portsmouth, Virginia now. But we're a big Navy town.
yep,
Okay. Um, we have a lot of veterans that want to be homeless. Have you run into that?
there are
Like they
there,
prefer to be homeless because of their mental state. So they go to food kitchens and shit like that. But like they don't want to be housed. Have you run into veterans like that?
my experience on that note, being an emergency room nurse, is that those are the patients who adapt to whatever circumstance or situation they're in. Those are the ones who, yes, they stay alive because they've accepted their circumstances and they've identified that this is all that the world's going to grant them.
Yeah.
So we were taking
And
care of
they're
a veteran
comfortable
about,
there. Like they're comfortable there. So I don't want to even push them, right? Like because we have ministries that give them food and stuff like that. But like they're comfortable there. So
I think a lot of them have given up in reference to wanting to do more in life. So I don't know if I would term it as a level of comfort there, because
that's a better,
homelessness,
yeah, you said it better than me. I didn't know how to say it.
yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties that come with that. But once you are without a home address, it is very hard, if not impossible, to get a job.
Oh gosh. Gosh.
So that I do mention in my book how once a person loses their residence, they're unemployable. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times, in order to get a job, you have to have a home address. And for many people, it can't be a P.O. box, it has to be a listed home residence. That's the frustration that there is in reference to how inaccurate or inaccurate the unemployment numbers are for veterans. Once a veteran loses a home address, they're no longer even counted in the unemployment rosters for US veterans.
I don't think people know that.
It
I
is
really
one of
don't.
those elements that is typically left out of articles about how great the veteran employment rate is.
Damn.
Once a veteran loses a home address, they're no longer listed on that veteran unemployment roster or data metric that they collect.
What are some other I don't think people know that, so I appreciate you telling us that. Um, what are some other facts that you found when you were researching your stuff? Because you're a wealth of knowledge that is major.
the thing that bothered me the most is that on the death certificate for both of the patients I discuss in my book, they do not list them as veteran suicide or self-caused suicide. The gentleman who shot himself in the chest, when he shot himself in the chest, he came down with what we call an anoxic brain injury. The brain didn't get enough oxygen, which resulted in brain death, but his brain death was caused by decreased fluid volume because the gunshots in his chest,
Right.
in his heart. So he didn't have blood flow. The death certificate was listed as anoxic injury due to hypovolemia. Hypovolemia, not enough or not adequate blood flow. It wasn't listed as suicide. It wasn't listed as a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It was listed as an anoxic injury resulting from fluid volume loss.
Oh,
So how are veteran suicides being accurately recorded if
I don't think
that's
they
the
are.
death certificate?
I mean, we know they're not. We
We
know they're
know they're
not.
not.
Yeah. I mean, we know they're not. It's like I love that we had a daily count of COVID deaths every day, but we didn't have a any count whatsoever of veteran and active duty suicides that whole entire time. I mean, I have opinions, and you know what opinions are like, but we're
Everybody's got one,
Christians.
like everybody's got elbows.
Amen. Elbows is better. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right. So, yeah, that really bothers me a lot. It really bothers me a lot. Um, all right, give me some more. I mean, you are awesome. Give me some more.
um, some more of those elements that we're identifying, especially in the research I'm doing, is how when veterans are transitioning out of the military, they're not necessarily helped through the process. The lifestyle, the culture of the military is you've got somebody there to guide you through the overall process of reintegration. The
Right.
difficulty that most veterans are having is the TAP program guides them into writing a generalized resume. But generalized resumes are looked at by employers outside the military as just that. They're generalized. A lot of employers,
And like
especially,
in our military guys, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but one of my favorite things that I want, it's I tell this to everybody, so please write it down and make sure that when I die it happens. Um, I want my tombstone to say she got me a job, right? Like I love helping people get jobs.
yeah.
So, but yeah, but like the transitioning phase is so hard, right, Steven?
Mhm.
It's so hard. So, oh, and you're actually writing it down?
I'm writing it down. You have to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody knows it because I've got an ex of kin, but like I mean, if that is not um anywhere around me, then I would kill somebody from ghost standpoint.
No, my overall feeling is that yeah, they've created a program in order to set up resumes, but it's not adequate because a lot of times what you do in the military doesn't transition into doing something outside of the military. So there's a missing step there. I really feel that a lot of people coming out of the military potentially need to go to school, a trade school, or back into college with something right after they get out of the military in order to transition effectively into the world. Um,
Yeah.
right now, for me, being a nurse, there's a shortage of over 120,000 nurses being predicted for 2026 to 2030. Um, my gut feeling is can we pull or can we guide some of these soldiers getting out of the military into nursing schools?
Oh, that's a good idea. you're you're
That's not in my
young.
book.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you're young. Um, when do you anticipate retiring? Like in like 15 years?
I'm currently 56 years old, so I've got another 9 years before I turn 65. But
But
because
you'd
of
still
the
keep going. I don't think
yeah,
you'll retire at
the
65.
multiple gaps in my employment history after coming out of the military identify, there's no way I can retire at 65.
Yeah, you won't. Well, and I mean, you just can't. I mean,
Mhm.
it's in your heart, right? Okay. Yeah, I thought you were young. So, what? Why are you laughing?
Multiple people throughout my life have identified me as younger than what I am. So
Yeah.
that's why I
Well,
was laughing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, all right. So, moving forward,
Mhm.
if you were, because what we always ask people to do, is we ask people to on the podcast is to like give a word of advice, like it's almost like to your younger self, but like, but it doesn't have to be. It could be, it could be like, you know, hold the standard or stay the course. Like it could be that. Or it could be, you know, if I would have known when I was 25 what I didn't know now, it's that. Would you please, Stephen Davis, my cute new friend who I love, will you please just give kind of a final thought to to the listeners about something you're thinking of? I mean, you've written a book. What's the name of the book so they know?
Keeping the stethoscope and hanging up the uniform.
Oh my God, that like made me have the chills. Okay, great. Great.
So
Can you give us a final thought?
my final thought is that how can we um, I think about that scene from the first episode of uh, the series called The Newsroom, and how can we consider ourselves to be the greatest nation, the greatest country in the world, whereas our soldiers come back from being in the military and they end up homeless.
Right.
So my overall thoughts and feelings are we're not the greatest country in the world. If we can't take care of the soldiers who protect and defend the Constitution, how can we call ourselves the greatest nation in the world? How can I recommend to my children to go in the military if
To
I know
join. Yeah,
for
yeah, to
myself and
join.
the patients I take care of that they're not going to be covered if they get injured in combat? They're going to end up on those rosters of the homeless people living under the bridge down 2 blocks away from where this apartment is, or they're going to be part of that population who commit suicide because they're so frustrated with life. So that's my final thought here.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Stick with me,
Mm-hmm.
okay? I'm gonna say goodbye to our listeners, but I want you to stick with me, okay? So we could do our little debrief,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Splints and Whiskey listeners, thank you so much for giving us some time with Steve Davis. He's amazing, obviously. Um, if you've got any questions for Steve or you want to reach out to him, I'll put his stuff in the feed. That way you can reach out to him and I strongly suggest that you get his book. Uh I have not had the chance to buy the book. I've learned about the book and because it just came out. And I'll tell you, it is full of fruitful knowledge for the field. So thank you, Stephen, so much. Thank you, listeners. And then I'm going to log us out of here, honey. So you stick with me and we will go from there. Hasta la vista, listeners.